Hey, do you want to know what's going to happen this weekend between Alabama and Wisconsin? Jimmy and I are going to go ahead and tell you.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama, AHSA Radio Network's Luke Robinson. That's me. Alabama internet legend Jimmy Stein. That's him. This episode is brought to you by Mazda. We'll talk about Mazda here in just a little bit. I want to thank you every day for being here every day, and thank you newbies for being here today, and thanks to everybody for making this your first listen every single day. You guys are the best. Also, by the way, if you would, just hit that subscribe button. It would really help us out. Jimmy, Alabama, Wisconsin did a crossover episode last night with the Locked On Badgers. That was good. I'm going to tell you, Wisconsin folks ain't feeling like, hey, we're going to roll in for the upset. What's weird is I'm not super nervous about this because Wisconsin could be down their starting quarterback, even though the backup has played, and they could be down their starting center. Yeah. And according to the Locked On Badgers cat, he was like, if we got to go to our backup center, that's a major problem.
Yeah, Renfro is their starting center, and he's one of the few guys on their team I can name. In terms of like who their best players are. Renfro, the center, is really good. So, yeah, that would be a huge blow to them. It's not a great Wisconsin team at all. I would just warn Alabama fans, I think Wisconsin's probably about a 6-6 type football team. So is Vanderbilt, so is Michigan, so is Oklahoma. So let's not get too confident or too overly confident. But it's not a great Wisconsin team, and Alabama's favored by 20, and that's fair. I would just be curious. I don't know if this came up in the show or if they're even talking about it. I mean, how warm is Luke Fickle's seat up there? I mean, is he on the hot seat, or is it now starting to warm up? They just – whenever the fans are like – I mean, Wisconsin of 10, 12 years ago, the Ron Dane Wisconsin, the Barry Alvarez Wisconsin, they'd roll into Tuscaloosa believing they would win. And
no doubt. Now, I'll say this. The sense I got was it's closer to the hot seat, not on the hot seat, but closer to it for Luke Fickle. But they're still sort of like in this void of, hey, why is this not working? Like, what's going on? And they've had some quarterback injuries that have certainly attributed. Also, their schedule has not helped them at all. They've already, they played Miami of Ohio and Middle Tennessee. But now they're at Bama. Then they welcome in a Maryland team that's got some talent. And by the way, their normal starter transferred in from Maryland. Then they're at Michigan, Iowa at home. Should be able to handle that one. But then you go Ohio State at home, at Oregon, Washington, who's much improved, at Indiana, Illinois, and you finish up at Minnesota. And I'm like, you said 6-6. Now I know they already have 2 under the belt. I don't know if I see 4 more wins for them.
You might be right. Might be more like 5-7 with that schedule. That Big Ten schedule, that's tough for a Big Ten schedule because they're not missing too many of the big names in the league.
Yeah, they are missing. The only one that they're missing is Penn State that I can see. And
as it relates to Alabama and DeBoer hot seat stuff after Florida State, and I'm not getting into all that, but I do think there's something to be said. When Wisconsin hired Luke Fickle, that looked like a great hire. I mean, I think Wisconsin fans were excited. I think fans across the country are like, that's a good hire. For some reason, it's not working so far. And I'm not saying that's exactly what's going on with DeBoer. I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is just because a coach doesn't work out doesn't mean it was a bad hire. It doesn't mean it was a bad decision on the front end. It just didn't work. And Fickle doesn't appear to be working up there. It's a mystery to me. Now, we're not, Locked On Badgers, but it's a mystery because, gosh, it seemed like he's a really good football coach, and that's not just a good coach. It seemed like a good fit. As a matter of fact, I'd say Fickle, Wisconsin, better fit than DeBoer, Alabama, in terms of Fickle's a Midwest Ohio State guy and was winning in the Midwest. Just seems like the right fit, but boy, it's been rough.
The Fickle era, and I hadn't gone back and looked, it reminds me a little bit of Hugh Freeze at Auburn in the sense that I'll let you rant about this as I'm getting
Hugh Freeze at Auburn. You're You were saying Hugh Freeze at Auburn. You were saying Hugh Freeze at Auburn.
And then when I don't pick up, how about not continuing to ring?
I do think Hugh Freeze at Auburn is a good analogy in this sense. I think Hugh Freeze is a great fit at Auburn, and I think Hugh Freeze is Auburn. If I'm being honest, so I'm not sure Auburn hiring Hugh Freeze at the right time. In terms of Hugh Freeze may have, I don't know, boy, this could blow up in our face big time, but maybe Hugh Freeze peaked at some point in his career.
Okay.
And this is on him on the other side of that. But that being said, they're 3-0 or they're about to be 3-0 playing Oklahoma next week.
But no, my point was this, that like Fickle's first couple of years have been sort of like, shouldn't we be better than this, even though we don't have the talent, because you're a good coach? And I think that's the same way Auburn was. The difference is I think Hugh Freeze has elevated the recruiting so much and the talent level so much. And I don't know that Fickle's done that. I mean, that's I was telling him I was out the Locked On Badgers. I was like, hey, I normally know y'all's running backs. I don't know these dudes. I'm not saying they're not good. I'm not saying that. I don't know if they're good. That's my point. I don't know if they're good or bad. I've never heard of them. Yeah,
they normally have a couple of, I want to say household names. That's the wrong term. Hardcore college football fans usually know 2, 3, 4 Wisconsin guys. This hasn't been the case. They're sort of dudeless. Me and you have said on the show this week that we've wondered if NIL is a big issue up there in terms of having sufficient NIL funds to compete in the upper echelon of the sport. Maybe that's a thing. They did sign 2 quarterbacks out of the transfer portal. That tends to be a little pricey. Billy Edwards from Maryland and Danny O'Neal, the likely starter against Alabama tomorrow from San Diego State. Again, I mentioned this a couple of times. I think it's notable that last year when he was at San Diego State, Danny O'Neal was only one of 2 true freshman quarterback starters in the country, game 1 through the whole season. The other one was Dylan Raiola, who everybody knows at Nebraska. So they're going to be okay. It's a bigger challenge than Monroe. I mean, this is a Big Ten football team. They're going to be bigger. A lot of guys that were highly recruited, or some of them that were highly recruited. Ricardo Hallman's a good player. He's a corner. Vinny Anthony at wide receiver. Dylan Jones, a really interesting, running back. Renfro was their best lineman, but he's apparently out. We'll get to the prediction later. But
a couple of things. First of all,
Alabama.
A couple of things. Dudeless in Madison sounds like the all-female Skinamax version of the sequel to Sleepless in Seattle. But anyway, here's the thing. The other bad news is Alabama's probably going to get some dudes back. Ryan Williams going to play. Jam Miller, I still maintain, I'm still hearing Jam Miller will get some play. Now, how much, I don't know. And will he start? I doubt it. But he will get some play. And then Tim Keenan, I would say he's probably out, but I wonder if Jamarian Latham will be back.
Those are the question marks, health-wise. And, per DeBoer, Jam Miller, Tim Keenan, and Jamarian Latham are all game-time decisions. I guess that's coach speak for maybe. Luke seems to have a decent, jam line into the Jam Miller situation. I would like, you're either cleared or you're not. If the trainer's clear him, it's probably a good idea to at least get his feet wet before it gets real serious. As we know, the game after this one, Georgia Bulldogs in Athens, probably the steepest challenge Alabama will face all season. Definitely an all-hands-on-deck situation. So if Jam can go a few snaps, I think that would be great. If Keenan can go a few snaps, that would be great. But game time decisions, so yet to be seen.
Yeah, I'm not going to give away sources, but I will say that my Jam Miller source is his cousin Marmalade. I waited far too long to use that terrible joke. Let me tell everybody about Mazda. This episode is brought to you by Mazda's moving the game forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, they move culture, and keep moving the game forward. This week's moment that moved the game forward, I'm going to say the first touchdown, Jeremy Bernard from Ty Simpson to Jeremy Bernard, because it set the tone, and it was he was wide open. It was a great play call, a good pass, and Jeremy just sort of sneaks into the end zone, and then he hits sort of the Brandy Chastain drop to your knees, look to the heavens kind of moment. He didn't take his shirt off, but you know,
there.
When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like that, there's more to every highlight. There's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, because you want to be moved when you're moved. I'm going to say it again because that's not the line. Mazda, move and be moved. Every so often, I think, some of our guys, some of our sponsors are like, do y'all have anybody else that could do a live read?
Is there a third guy on there?
Yeah.
I had a Mazda. I mean, my very first car was a Mazda RX-7 when I was 16. Had it all the way through college, actually.
Way back then, it was probably a Mazda RX-4. Eddie made it to 7 again.
It was a Mazda RX-1. But, I drove it around the Alabama campus back in the prehistoric age.
All right, so let's talk about using your feet for brakes. All right, let's talk about some predictions for some certain players, and then get in our predictions for the game, and then in the third segment we'll talk some SEC stuff. But so I'm going to go out on a limb. I got a few things. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Ryan Williams scores a touchdown.
Like it.
I'm going to say Alabama gets more than 2 sacks.
More than 2.
Yeah. And I'm going to say Jam Miller plays. Those are my 3 big predictions.
I like them. I'm with you on the Ryan Williams thing. I think Ryan comes back and makes a splashy play. We've been waiting on one. There's some Ryan Williams criticism out there. Boggles my mind, actually. I mean, it literally boggles my mind that Twitter, there's been a lot of comments. And I predicted on Twitter Ryan would make a big play, and there's some negative comments to it. Just boggles my mind. But no, I think Ryan scores a touchdown on a big play as he's welcomed back to the lineup. I agree. I think Jeremy Bernard is the leading receiver again in terms of catches and yards. I think it's going to be Germ. I think Alabama has – Luke said more than 2 sacks. I'll say 2 sacks, which is twice as many as they've had in any other game. And I'll say that LT Overton gets at least one of them, if not both of them. I think LT Overton breaks and gets that first sack. Alabama has 2, which is an improvement. Still needs to work on that. And how about I'll also say for this prediction, Connor Talty with another long field goal. I'm going to put Connor Talty on the board with a 50-yarder.
Let me give you some more interesting stats. Alabama has allowed 4 rushing touchdowns this year. All of them were against Florida State, apparently. I didn't think about it, but Florida State didn't have a passing touchdown. So, yeah. And
they did have one. Didn't they have the bomb where they beat Dejon Lee?
Oh, I take that back. You're absolutely right.
And they only scored 4 touchdowns, right?
Wait a minute. Did he score on that one?
Yeah.
He scored. I thought that was when Squirrel White dove.
You're correct. He got run down. Bray Hubbard knocked out the guy at like the 1 or 2 yard line. Correct.
Bray Hubbard's like, hey, y'all remember the one thing I did that game, please. But Alabama has allowed 4 rushing touchdowns this year. That's the most in the conference, and we shut somebody out last week. That's nuts.
That's a crazy number. I'm sure that's a product of who everybody has played.
100%.
But that is a crazy number that we've given up the most, and it all happened in one game because the other game was a shutout where the defense was fantastic. I think tomorrow, we also said this for a prediction. I guess it doesn't really suffice as a specific prediction, but we said Alabama underwhelmed in week 1 and overwhelmed in week 2. And this is just going to be a whelm performance. But what I mean by that, and I think Luke agrees based on Luke's takes this week, this is going to be who Alabama is. I think Saturday we see, tomorrow we see who Alabama is. What kind of team are they going to look like most of the year? And I think they're going to be pretty good. And I'm expecting a good, solid performance and a win, but no one's going to come out of it saying, well, there's your national champion in 2025. Yeah. I also don't think anyone's going to come out of it going, well, there they were back to week one again. I don't think it'll be either one of those things. I think it'll just be what this Alabama football team is, and it will be a comfortable win.
Okay, I'm going to have a bit of Vujade here and say that Alabama wins 42-10, just like last year.
42-10, just like last year. I actually considered that early this week when I was playing around with this and looking at numbers, and I considered the same thing. I think Wisconsin's a little bit better than last year. That doesn't mean their record's going to be any better. Doesn't mean they're going to have a better season. But I do think in year 3 for Luke Fickle, they have a better idea. I like the identity on offense. I do think Danny O'Neal is a competent quarterback that's not going to go out there and play poorly. I think Wisconsin plays better than they did a year ago, and Alabama doesn't exactly have their foot on the gas like they did last week. I like Alabama to win 35-14, which does cover the number, but just barely.
Pushes. It's up to 21. Pushes.
Is it up to 21? Okay, so that's a push. Yeah, I think that line to me is significant. Now, let it be said that me and Luke have been really off. Week 1, we almost nailed the score, but we had the wrong team winning. And last week, we both predicted a blowout, but we didn't predict 73.
I mean, come on, nobody was going to do that.
Yeah. I think I had 45-7. You had something really close.
I don't think. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think Nick Saban teams ever scored 70.
I don't recall, but I do know 73-0 was Alabama's largest margin of victory in decades.
Since like a Virginia Tech game or something like that?
You'd have to go back to, I believe, the 70s to find the 1970s to find a time that Alabama won a game by 73 points.
Let me make another prediction. Latsier Brooks scores.
Oh, wow. I would love it because one of my things I've been adamant about, and I hope Ryan Grubb's listening. I like the lineup of Germ and Ryan outside with Lazier Brooks in the middle and in the slot. That's my favorite lineup. And I know I put Horton on the bench and I put Rico Scott on the bench when I do that. And I'm uncomfortable doing that because I think Isaiah Horton and Rico Scott are quality starting SEC wide receivers. Alabama just happens to have 5 of them, and only 3 of them can really line up out there with the ones at a time. But I love the Ryan outside where he did all his damage last year, Germ outside where he's doing all his damage this year, and Brooks in the slot because I think that's Brooks' spot. Ryan's having to play the slot because they wanted to get bigger. So that meant moving Ryan inside and starting a big dude outside, which that's what the plan was. But it's an adjustment for Ryan to play inside. He's dropping those balls coming across the middle because the slot, you got to take on some big dudes in there. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're going up against a safety, you're running routes into linebackers, and he drops some balls. I think Ryan adjusting to the slot has been a thing, but I think Lazier Brooks was sort of, created to play the slot. That's his spot.
And I mean, his the Waddle comparisons will never stop, considering the number he wears, considering the he also had a Waddle determination about him. Everybody loves to talk about how fast Waddle is, how quick he is, and all those, and all that's true. But what I remember about Jalen Waddle is when I think Jalen Waddle, the first play that comes to mind is the big punt return against LSU in 2019 when somebody almost ripped his whole face off. Which, again, if somebody does that to me, y'all are holding vigils. But he just shakes it off and goes on because he's a completely determined. You can tell what Waddle and Brooks are. They're like, I hate to say undersized, but kind of undersized. And so they've got a chip on their shoulder, but they're so much more athletic than you could possibly imagine.
Fast, but tough. Waddle doesn't look tough walking around. He played tough. And boy, 50-50 balls, Waddle's fantastic on 50-50 balls. And I think Brooks is going to prove that he is too. I think their games are very similar. Now I'm going to give an edge to Waddle because, we've already seen what Waddle can do, and he's been a proven really good NFL player. And Brooks is just, diaper young as a true freshman. But I do think that they're very similar in terms of their skill set.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt. All right, so I've got 42-10, repeat of last year. You've got 35-14. What that means is get you some Alabama by the hook. And then what you can do is thank me and Jimmy when you're sitting around cashing all that new money so you can go get that new Mazda you've always wanted. Going to talk a little drip drop now. I love drip drop. I mean, I really do. I got this drip drop from the sponsor, and I've used it in my water, and you do feel so much better when you take it. It's delicious. If you're trying to stay on top of your routine, whether it's workouts or long days on campus or staying focused through back-to-back classes, hydration is where it all starts. And that's where drip drop comes in. Drip drop is a doctor-developed and scientifically proven method for fast hydration. It uses the perfect balance of sodium electrolytes and glucose to help your body absorb fluids quickly, delivering 3 times the electrolytes and half the sugar of the leading sports drink. My go-to flavor is all of them. It says put in your, I don't care. I just reach in and grab one because I love it so much. Absolutely delicious. Right now, DripDrop is offering Locked On listeners 20% off your first order. Just head to DripDrop.com, use promo code LockedOnCollege. That's DripDrop.com, promo code LockedOnCollege for 20% off. Stock up now because I know it's feeling better, but it's still hot, Joe. And, that's the way it is. Now there's DoorDash. Always love DoorDash. I mean, I use it all the time. And it's the weekend's here, so time to look back and crown this week's MVP on who delivered. And, of course, we've talked about it a few times. We've said Jeremy Bernard. We've said Ty Simpson. How about we go Lazier Brooks? He delivered. He got his chance, and he delivered. I loved it. The MVP on who delivered is powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order, these players delivered when it matters most. Let's break it down. Lazier Brooks, every time he caught the ball, you felt like he was a threat. That's what I love seeing about him. You're not going to bring him down very easily because he's going to fight until the bitter end. And just like Lazier Brooks delivered for Alabama, DoorDash delivers for your Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, you save on every Saturday you order. Stack it all up all season long, and you could save up to $250, including 100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday, keep the streak alive, fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through November 18th. That's what it is, November 18th. So let's talk a little SEC. Some big games this weekend. Billy Napier. I'm going to tell you something, though. Wouldn't shock me if they pull it off.
I won't be surprised either, in the sense that it's not going to be the Florida team that lost to South Florida. I think it's going to be an inspired, tough-to-beat Florida team. I'm going to take LSU to win this game because it's in Baton Rouge, and I just think they're a better football team than Florida. I felt that even before last week's result. I think LSU's a playoff team. Really talented on offense and defense. Now, LSU didn't play great last week against Louisiana Tech, especially on offense. I'm going to pull a nod to Coach Corso here and say LSU wins, but closer than the experts think, as Coach would say. Florida covers the number. LSU wins the game.
I can live with that. I understand where you're going, but I'm just telling you – LSU was so flat last week.
They were.
And also the way Clemson's played, I'm beginning to wonder, like, how big was that game? So, I mean, I think it's fair to say Florida's got a shot. I'm like you. I think Florida covers. It's not going to shock me if they win the game, but I think Florida covers. It's a close game, and in the end, LSU's somehow able to pull it out. Now, the other SEC game that's really big, of course, is Georgia and Tennessee. I've been waffling here in the end because I'm going to pull for Georgia because I don't want Georgia coming into the Bama game with a loss already. My hope is Georgia blows Tennessee out. That's my hope. And the reason I think that is because I want Georgia to come in after having, maybe riding a little high, then getting an off week, and then they come in maybe some faux confidence. And Alabama's able to sneak out of there. Right now I'm pessimistic Alabama can go into Athens and win, but I'm really pessimistic if they've lost to Tennessee.
A great reason to pick Georgia here is Kirby Smart's had tremendous success against Josh Heupel offenses. Kirby just seems to have the answers to that. Tennessee's offense, which has been very good pretty consistently under Heupel, has failed miserably against Georgia every time out. Kirby just seems to have answers for Heupel's offense, and that's a great reason to pick Georgia. I'm going to pick Tennessee to win the game. I'm with Luke. As an Alabama fan, I would rather Georgia win this game because I don't want to face Georgia after they've lost already. I'd rather face an undefeated Georgia team from Alabama, but I think Tennessee's going to win the game. I think Tennessee is a playoff contender. I think that Joey Aguilar is a good fit in what Heupel wants to do on offense, and ultimately Tennessee under Heupel's been very good at shedding, the monkey off their back. They beat Alabama and Knoxville twice now. I think they finally get Georgia. They've lost 8 years in a row. When that streak ends, it's going to end in Knoxville with a good team. That's what Tennessee's got. I think it's tight. I think it comes down to the end. I think Tennessee makes a play to win, and they're carrying the goalposts off once again.
They're going to keep throwing all these goalposts in the river, and pretty soon some of those boats that come through are going to crash on them.
Who would have thought goalpost manufacturing would be a big time industry?
There's a goalpost salesman going, "Oh no, I can't. It's been a bad year." And then they go, "Tennessee won again? Oh my God, I've got a Christmas bonus coming." And I think correct me if I'm wrong. Well, let's go Vandy, South Kakalaki. That's not a horrible game. That's actually a pretty fun game.
Yep.
And boy, I want so badly to pull the trigger on Vandy, but kind of like Georgia with Tennessee, it feels like South Carolina might have Vandy's number right now.
Yeah, they were pretty good last year.
They beat them like mercilessly last year when Vandy was giving Texas fits and beat Alabama. They beat Auburn on the road. Vandy was doing some good stuff, and South Carolina just waylaid them. So I'm going to pick South Carolina to win this game and cover.
I like Vanderbilt to cover. I do like South Carolina to win. I think it's going to be tight. I don't think it'll be like last year. I think Vanderbilt is better than they were a year ago. I don't know that they're going to finish with 6-6 again. They might finish less. Doesn't mean they're not a better team. What they did in the second half against Virginia Tech last week was just super impressive. South Carolina had to play harder, struggled to beat Virginia Tech. Vanderbilt slaughtered them in Blacksburg. If this game was in Nashville, I would pick it the other way. I would pick Vanderbilt to beat South Carolina if this game was in Nashville, but it's in Columbia. Very difficult to win up there. Alabama's going to find that out later this year. South Carolina will win, but it'll be close. Vandy's a legit SEC football team right now, no doubt about that.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, and I want Vandy to win. I really do, because I feel like South Carolina's. They don't have it together. I predicted South Carolina not do as well as everybody thought they would because
I think they're a bit overrated. Doesn't mean they're not good. I think they are good, but a bit oversold in the offseason. In the same way I feel about Lenore Sellers. Really good, really interesting. If I'm the NFL, I've got my eye on that guy too. I just don't think he's quite ready yet. I think Sellers just needs to play more.
So, and then correct me if there's another one I'm missing, so be it. But
Arkansas at Ole Miss is.
Oh, okay, that's a good. I was going to say Texas A&M, Notre Dame, Arkansas, Ole Miss. You're right.
Yeah. I like Ole Miss at home, but I think Arkansas plays better than people think, and I think the game could be interesting. I sort of like Arkansas to cover here, but I think Ole Miss wins at home.
Let me go another route. This is my upset pick of the week. Arkansas wins this game because Lane Kiffin is due for one bad loss every year. And I think this will be it. Whereas they got over the Kentucky bugaboo, I think Arkansas comes in there with a good quarterback, ball control. Ole Miss's quarterbacks aren't as good as people thought they were going to be. I don't know. I'm going to pick Arkansas to win that one. Then finally, Texas A&M and Notre Dame.
A&M?
I'm a A&M fool because if look, I can't believe some people agree with me on this nationally. If Notre Dame loses this one, there is a very difficult path for them to make the playoffs because the rest of their schedule stinks.
I don't even think Notre Dame's done losing. I think A&M wins this game and then Notre Dame loses again at least once more. I do. And I'm not saying Notre Dame's not great. I'm just saying I don't think this is a Notre Dame playoff team now that or at least the team that I watch play against Miami. I like A&M to win this game. It's going to be close. It probably comes down to the end. I think in the end, A&M's a little bit better football team, and they win the game on the road.
What a huge win that would be for A&M too. What a monster win. And so I'm pulling for them because of SEC. That'd be awesome. I'd be great for the league. So, all right, that's going to do it. Go ahead and use these on FanDuel and anywhere else you put your prop bets because we just gave you a bunch of money. Until next time, roll tide, everybody.
Roll Tide.